ASTOR Theatre and First Contact Conventions. Welcome to this very special presentation of Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, for those who haven't seen it, you're in for a real surprise, a real treat. It's one of the great films ever made. Now, after the film, we'll have the Q&A, audience Q&A, and to your right, on either side of the stalls, and in the circle, you'll see the microphones. But in the meantime, just to say a quick hello and introduce the film, please give a big welcome to Australia to Keir Dullea Gary Lockwood.
Quite a few conventions, especially in the States, but we've even gone to, Gary's been to Germany, I've been to the UK. But I gotta tell you, I personally have never had such an enthusiastic welcome from, so I want to thank you people here in Melbourne. This is wonderful. I'm curious, how many people, firstly, is there anybody who's never seen this film? Anybody? Nobody? You all see it? Okay. Balcony, I can't see up the balcony. The last audience we had, believe it or not, had about 20 people who have never seen the film at all, even at home on their CDs, DVDs rather. How many people have never seen it on a big screen before? Okay. A lot of you. Well, let me tell you, you have a special experience waiting for you, because if any film was meant to be shown on a large screen, this is it. And I had the privilege of watching part of it in the earlier screening, and I have to tell you, this is the best print that I've seen since the original opening in 1968. That was the last time I was in Melbourne, was 38 years ago. That opening, and this is truly the most beautiful print. You have a treat. Those of you, even those of you who've seen it a lot, although I guess they have shown it in the year 2001, so a few of you may have seen it then, but if you haven't seen it, this is a beautiful, beautiful print. Gary.
I think we should all give a hand, or all of you Australians should give a hand to George, the man who owns this theatre. George. Someone said that, you know, we now hear that this theater plays various movies of different, different times and places, etc. But apparently, whenever this movie plays, George is the projectionist. That's why I'm doing that up there. Hi, George. Anyway, we've enjoyed Melbourne, and I think I really like it here. It's very nice. You're nice people.
And we're looking forward to speaking to you in the Q&A afterwards. And incidentally, there is an intermission for this film. They used to do that with long films in the old days. And we will, for those of you who just arrived and didn't have a chance to get a photo signed, we will be signing in the intermission. And I know that's for sure. I don't know if we're going to be signing again after the film, after the Q&A again.
Drawing a raffle after the Q&A, and
yeah, well, there will be a raffle after the Q&A, so stick around. Enjoy the film. Good.
I can see you're really upset about this. I know I've made some very poor decisions recently.
The stars of 2001, Gary Lockwood and Keir Dullea. Unfortunately, Hal couldn't be with us today.
Since we're going to be here. Hello, hello? Is this working, folks? Yeah.
We're just going to discuss the film and these gentlemen's career and try and do that in a space of about 20 minutes, and then open up the floor to questions. Whether you're sitting upstairs or downstairs, you have the opportunity to line up behind microphones which are strategically placed on that side of the auditorium. And it occurs to me to ask you guys, I mean, it's just so apparent when you watch this film, and you've got to remind yourself this film was released in 1968, and the special effects are amazing, but it's also amazing because the style of film that it is, science fiction films up until then have been dominated by special effects, bug-eyed monsters or cautionary tales. In the 1950s we saw all those films about communism and all sorts of ideas infiltrating the American consciousness. But this is a totally different kind of film that changed the rules, and I think in the 40 years since, even the kind of generic blockbusters you see, they're also obviously influenced by this film. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
You notice he did all the work on that. I just say absolutely.
When you were called to take part in this film, did it come as a complete shock to you that your agent said, "Hey, Kubrick wants you"?
Take it away, Keir.
It sure did to me. I was doing a film in London. It was a film called Bunny Leg is Missing that Otto Preminger was directing with Laurence Olivier and Carol Lindley. And when I came home at the end of one day of work, and not the first day of work, but sometime during the schedule, and my wife said, "Call your agent." So the time difference by that time, it was in the morning in New York, so I called my agent, and he said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You've just been offered the lead in Stanley Kubrick's next film." It was good he asked me if I was sitting down, because I was blown away. I had been a real fan of Stanley Kubrick ever since I was in drama school, when I went off to see a Kirk Douglas movie one afternoon. I had the day off or the afternoon off, and it was called Paths of Glory, and blew me out of my seat. And of course it was directed by Stanley Kubrick. So I became a Stanley Kubrick fan, like in an instant. It remained so all through Spartacus and Lolita and Dr. Strangelove. And so I didn't know that it was in the works. Obviously, Kubrick had been looking at film on a lot of people probably, and I'm sure, on Gary and on others. And he had looked at three bits of film on me. One was David and Lisa, for which I won a Golden Globe several years before this film, and another film called The Thin Red Line with Jack Warden, and the film I was doing currently, which was My Leg is Missing, and Otto Preminger sent him outtakes of that, so that's how I got the film.
Well, my situation was, I don't know where I was because I was young and wild. And, anyway, my agent called me up and he said something about Stanley Kubrick has offered you a movie, 200 weeks at very little money. And I remember saying to him, oh, he's going to pay me? I thought maybe we had to pay him. I didn't understand. I said that to my agent. But I very quickly one day asked Stanley, after we had been around him a while, we knew that we were not there by accident. So I'm not trying to toot our horns, but we never had audition or anything. We both had these offers out of the blue, and you kind of think, how unusual. Then later, when you know him, and then my God, you've been screened like the FBI.
With Stanley, nothing was done by accident. He was the most prepared director that I ever worked with. He spent years in advance of this film. If you take it from the time that he optioned the film, which was he didn't option the story. It was based originally on a short story by Arthur C. Clarke called The Sentinel, which I had read when I was like around 12 or 13 years old.
So
I was a science fiction fan, and I used to subscribe to all the science fiction magazines like Astounding Science Fiction, Galaxy Science Fiction, Fantasy and Science Fiction and Fantasy, or something like that. There were three magazines anyway that I subscribed to at that age, and my mother would give me every year. They used to be anthologies, the best science fiction of 1950, whatever it was. And I remember in one of those anthologies reading The Sentinel, which dealt with just that portion of the film where the scientists are on their way to the moon to try to figure out what this discovery that they've just dug out, the monolith, is. That's all it dealt with, but it asked a big question at the end, and the big question was, they figured out that a passing intelligence millions of years ago in our history, mankind's history, when men were just ape men. They left a kind of, in a sense, a giant alarm clock buried, and only the uncovering of it would set off a signal into space. And the question asked at the end of the short story was, who was getting that signal? I'm paraphrasing the end. So Stanley was very attracted by the concept, and the rest, as they say, is history, which you've just seen.
I'd just like to add one thing very quickly. That's proper English here for you. Although I'm an American, so I think all you people in Melbourne should be very grateful that your George, who owns this theater, had such a great print today, fantastic, and that you should, I think, isn't it nice that he owns this big theater and we can all come in here? I mean, this is the only place in the world right now where probably you can see this film on the original format. I mean, when it first came on the screen and it said a Space Odyssey, I kind of sat back there and went, my God, I haven't seen that in 40 years.
This was the most beautiful screening that I've seen. I've seen it many times. It's the most beautiful screening since the original premiere. So I'd like to thank the people responsible for this screening for inviting us to Melbourne. They've been lovely to us. Everyone we've met have been particularly lovely. And what an honor, what a tribute to Stanley. Stanley would be very proud and pleased to have seen the screening of this film.
Apart from thanking Gary and Keir, I'd like to thank the Science Fiction Convention for making it possible for these guys to come out to Australia, and a special vote of thanks to George Florence, who for over 20 years, most of the income that's come into this theatre has gone back into it. The guy is a perfectionist. That's the main reason why you're seeing this print today in such excellent condition, in such excellent screening conditions. So,
I will drink to that.
We'll be on the table, so come say hello.
come out to the choir. Thank you.
You've gone, I feel so empty inside. I just can't release your image from my mind. It's so hard saying goodbye. Oh, I must try. I can still feel your presence, but you I cannot see. Are you an angel eternally watching over me? Oh, I miss your warm embrace. There's always something in the way that makes it easier, they say. They face and been so cruel. I would be living life with you, knowing my heart will stay. Always something in the way. I remember times we shared together.